What is up, YouTube? The Street Fighter 6 closed beta test just happened a couple of days ago, for me at least. By the time you guys are watching this on YouTube, it probably will have been about a week or more. And although it was only a 3-day closed beta test, I did actually play it quite a bit. So, you know, I was streaming on Twitch Friday night. I played 4 hours. Friday during the day, I played 10 more hours. Saturday, I played about 15 hours. Sunday, I played another 10 hours to finish it out, for a total of about 40 hours playing Street Fighter 6 for my first time. So as you can imagine, 40 hours playing the game, I do have a lot of thoughts, a lot of insight about the game at this point, about its features, about the gameplay, about things like the netcode and the characters. And so, you know, I wanted to share it with all of you guys, my thoughts on the game, on Street Fighter 6 as a whole. I'm going to be talking about all the different aspects, so I'll leave timestamps for each different section in the video, so you can just skip to wherever you want to look at. And before we get into the video, if you have any questions, leave a comment on the video down below. I'll try and answer any questions about the game, or any questions you want to ask me, maybe not about the game. And leave a subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that red button, because 70% of you are subscribed to the channel even though you watch it. So make sure to hit that red button down below. And let's get into my thoughts about Street Fighter 6. Alright, so I opened Street Fighter 6 up for the first time, and what do I see? The most impressive avatar creation, character creation thing that I have ever seen. And it was just so much fun making my character. It's such a nice touch. All of the different options that you can put on your character. You can make them super tall, you can make them look super weird. I mean, just take a look at the upper body settings page of this. Look at how many different things there are: lat size, shoulder size, trap size, upper arm thickness. You can tell that the people that made this game just had an idea of something that they thought would be funny, and they just added it in. And I feel like that's very prevalent in all of the different fun features they have. You know, like the game face feature, the battle challenge screens page that you can set. You know, you can even make your character glowing. I think that's pretty cool. You can add body hair. So I feel like there's just a lot of love being put into Street Fighter 6 right now, and that is super cool to see. All right, and then you step out, and the battle hub is something that I wasn't even considering as something that I was excited for. The same thing as the character creation thing, I was not really excited for. But it turned out to be something that was really cool. The battle hub, I thought, was just going to be a place that you sat down and play matches, which I mean, it still is, but for some reason it just feels so immersive as a place to be. Something about it being 3D and like the ambient noise of everything, and like it just makes it feel very cool and very immersive. Like, I would walk around, see random people that I knew, and I'd be like, yo, I know that guy. And you can talk to them in chat. You can shoot a Hadouken at them. You can spinning bird kick them in the face. Like, I saw Phenom, you know, the Norwegian Nikali player, maybe my first or second day, and we just started doing Shoryukens in the middle of the battle hub. So I mean, I feel like that just really cool as like a gathering place for all of the players. I think it's going to be really fun, just like late at night, you're chilling and you just randomly run into people that you play with a lot, and you can chat with them and play with them. You can go head over to Extreme Battle, do whatever you want. And I think the nicest touch of it all was that you can hear like ambient button noises in the background. For some reason, that just really reminded me of being at a tournament and like going into the venue, hearing everyone play casuals. And it's just such a nice sound. Maybe if you haven't traveled to events, gone to locals, or gone to tournaments, you don't really know that sound that I'm talking about. But if you have, it's just like such a familiar sound that, yeah, I think it's a really great touch that they added. So then you're in the battle hub, you're walking around, and you find this place called Extreme Battle, and it's basically like a party game that you can just randomly play with your friends. Anyone that you run into online, like they beat you in a series set, you can be like, hey, see me in Extreme Battle, let me beat you up while this soccer ball explodes in our face. And I think the way that Extreme Battle works is it updates every day. So there's 2 different Extreme Battles you can play with. There's 6 stations in total. 3 of them are for each game on the server. So on day 1, it was this one with a bomb and the one with the bull. the bull one for the first day you had to get 5 knockdowns, and then the second day they switched it to like an electrifying thing, and then the third day they had like this kind of Simon Says thing where you have to where it tells you what you have to do. Like you have to hit 3 drive impacts and 2 throws and not get hit for 7 seconds. So all of them were really fun and unique, and I think they were all just really fun to play and not take too seriously. So yeah, for the Battle Hub, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. It exceeded my expectations of what it was going to be. It's just super fun walking around, seeing everyone's horrible abominations of characters. Definitely not mine. Mine was very normal of a character, looked just like me. But everyone else's, they looked super stupid and funny, and it's just super cool to be able to walk around and just like see everyone virtually in the game. So we talked about, you know, the Battle Hub. It's very fun. Let's talk about something a little bit more serious, the netcode. And the netcode for this game was actually amazing. And here is a clip of me joining. So I was in the Asian server, and here is me challenging Persia627, who is a Japanese Ken player. He played Ken in Street Fighter V. And I sit down and play this match. He's 5,000 miles away from me. I'm on the west coast of America. He's in Japan, presumably, unless he randomly moved. And you can see it's 120 milliseconds of ping, which I think is expected, but it's only 1 frame of rollback and 1 frame of delay. So I mean, it definitely wasn't perfect, the netcode, if it's that far away. But being able to even have a playable connection with someone from Japan, I think is really cool. Like I don't think you should run tournaments in this. Like you shouldn't play like a serious set for a lot of money and prestige on this kind of a connection, because it's not perfect. But I would definitely practice on this kind of connection. I would definitely think this is good enough to learn matchups on and learn the game with, even though it's not like completely perfect. Same thing over here. I'm playing Problem X in the UK Evo champion, Evo 28 champion Problem X, and we're playing an almost flawless connection. It's pretty much the same thing as Japan. I think they're both 5,000 miles away from me, since I'm on the west coast of the United States and he's in the UK. And you can see rollback frames, it's bouncing between like 2 and 3 frames, and it definitely feels playable. Like I'm able to feel pretty good about this tournament online match. Like I wouldn't want to play, you know, a CPT on it, but playing a beta bash, playing in Punk's tournament for fun, it feels pretty dang good to be playing someone that far away. So yeah, that's how it is playing people super far away from me. But what about people like reasonably close to me? What about the East Coast of the United States? What about like playing from coast to coast within our country? And I played against Punk, and it felt pretty much perfect. Like I pretty much couldn't tell any lag, if there was any. Like it says 2 rollback frames up there, so maybe it rolled back a couple of times, but really I could not tell that there was any sort of lag between us. And that's very different from Street Fighter V. Like in Street Fighter V, it is pretty unplayable, I would say, and I can probably find some footage of the difference between this connection, which looks like pretty smooth, if you can see it right now. Here is a set that we were playing on Street Fighter V, I think last year it was. And just take a look at how it looks like when Ken is moving in this round. Like the way that the movement is much more teleporty and rollbacky than it is in the Street Fighter 6 game. So, you know, I limit tested this a little bit. Here's me playing Angry Bird, playing on Big Bird's account. He's in the UAE, so it's, I think, 8,000 miles away, so it's farther. So this connection was playable, but definitely not the best. So I feel like this connection felt like what me to Punk was in Street Fighter V, but he's like way farther, like 4 times farther, I think. So for the netcode for Street Fighter 6, you know, it's early. Maybe it'll change at launch, hopefully not. But currently I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. Like obviously this is not perfect, but I don't think any kind of netcode is going to surpass the laws of physics and make us be able to play literally around the world flawlessly. So for the Street Fighter 6 netcode, I think they did an amazing job. I'm gonna give them a 10 out of 10. All right, so I've given two things a 10 out of 10 so far. The Battle Hub and the Netcode were both amazing. One thing that was not for the beta, which I'm hopeful will change for the release of the game, is the input lag. So right here, this guy did a test on Street Fighter 6's betas on Xbox Series X, and he found an average of 5.75 frames of input lag. Now, I can't find a source for the PC input lag, but I definitely heard people say that the PC input lag was also around 5 frames. And if you compare that to the Street Fighter 5 numbers on a 60 hertz monitor with VSync on, that's already better than the 5 frames by about 2 frames, so 3.6. And on an optimized setup, it brings it down to almost like 3 or 4 frames better than what Street Fighter 6 beta was. And it was definitely noticeable. I said in my first video, during my first match, I said that like I could feel that the game felt laggy. So it definitely made sense once the numbers came out on why it felt laggy. I think one of the reasons, but not the full reason, was that you couldn't change it to full screen display mode. For some reason, there was only borderless windowed and windowed in the beta. I'm not sure why it was that way, but for some reason full screen does lower the input lag compared to windowed and borderless windowed. So I think adding that capability will already bring the input lag down a little bit, but I think it still won't be at what Street Fighter 5 is now, and that is a little bit concerning. So yeah, for the input lag, I think I'm gonna give that like a 3 out of 10 maybe. Like, it's not the worst. Street Fighter 5 was 8 frames of input lag infamously at the start, and it's already better than that. And I think it'll probably get down to like 4 just by changing it to full screen. But hopefully they can find a way to reduce it to what Street Fighter 5 is at now, because I think it would feel pretty bad if the previous version of the game had like better performance than the new game. All right, now let's talk about the gameplay, and specifically about I guess a drive system, since that's probably the most important part of the gameplay that is like new and fresh, and that we're going to have to learn once the game comes out. So if you don't know, the drive gauge is this bar at the top, and you have a lot of mechanics that are tied to it. You have to spend 2 gauges for an EX move. You have to spend 3 for a drive rush, half for a drive parry, 1 for a drive impact, which is a focus like attack. And if you're burned out like Punk currently is, you take chip damage. You have no access to any of the drive moves that I just talked about. You have very little answer to that drive impact right there, and you get stunned in the corner by that drive impact, and also you take more block stun. So getting burned out is very bad, and you're going to really have to manage your drive gauge accordingly throughout the match. All right, so in the background right here, I just have High Fight's explanation of the drive system going, just so we can talk about it as it goes on. So I think one of the big things that's going to be chipping away at your drive gauge is heavy attacks and fireballs, and that's something that people didn't really deal well with during the beta. A lot of people were just blocking heavy attacks and the fireball, myself included. The reason that like heavy attacks and fireballs are so good is because they take so much of your drive gauge. So you can see Ryu just did a crouch fierce fireball. It almost took 1 whole gauge of the Jamie player's drive bar. So those kind of moves, even on block, are really bad to just block. So in comes this move, Drive Impact. Costs 1 of your drive gauge bars. People were complaining a lot about this move. There's a lot of counterplays. It has 2 hits of armor. So on the 3rd hit, if you do hit it before it comes out, you can break it just by normal hits. But yeah, this move is going to be the main easy answer to fireballs and heavy attack moves, because if you throw out a fireball, your opponent just reads it and drive impacts, they're going to get a full combo because they're going to get a punish counter with their drive impact, and they're going to get a really big combo, and it's going to hurt. Same thing with a heavy attack. And the thing with this is, if you're doing a drive impact, you are basically just guessing at that point on if they're going to do a fireball, and there's a lot of answers to drive impact. If you see your opponent drive impact, you can react with your own drive impact and get your own combo, because you'll absorb the hit from your opponent's drive impact. You can also parry it, you can also jump it, you can also super it, you can also grab it. So there are a bunch of answers to deal with drive impact, which is the reason why it's only 1 bar, even though it seems so good. So I play a lot of the game. Drive impact is definitely reactable if you're looking for it. If you're not looking for it, it feels pretty hard, but I feel like when you're playing this game, you just gotta always be looking for it. And it seems like it's in a good place right now because there's a lot of counterplays for it, and they've tried to balance it according to how strong it is. A lot of people are definitely complaining about it right now, but you know, it's definitely too early. Considering there are counterplays for it, and it is just super risky to throw out. Like you can see Hi-Fi right there, you can counter drive impact. The drive impact, you can do a 3-hit move. Oh, I guess he only did 2 hits, so that's why that one didn't work out. But yeah, there are a lot of answers to drive impact. Similarly, drive rush is a thing that people were complaining a lot about, and kind of still are on Twitter. Because it allows you to get in seemingly for free. So first, there's 2 ways to do a drive rush. First, you can do a parry into a drive rush, and that drive rush only costs 1 bar. Oh, I actually didn't know you could jump. But yeah, parry into drive rush, 1 bar. You press a button, you get a lot of plus frames, you get in. The counterplay to this is that you can challenge with a button. So the way I think of it is parry into drive rush is essentially like a dash from Street Fighter V. That's kind of how it feels like. I think the answer to a parry into drive rush, the main answer is just going to be to check it with a button. A lot of people during the beta were not checking it, and not checking it is really bad because you can cancel into an overhead, you can cancel into a throw. You basically get an extreme amount of offense from a drive rush because it makes all of your attacks that come out of it 4 frames more positive, more advantageous once you do them. So an overhead that you previously could not combo out of on hit, you can now combo out of if you do drive rush into an overhead. Also, if you do drive rush into overhead, it's +1 on block. So it's not only safe, it's positive. But the thing with doing overheads is it is very risky because it can be drive impacted because it's not cancelable. The only things that you can counter drive impact are normals that are special cancelable. So that's why like a heavy kick or an overhead is risky against drive impact. But yeah, the usage that people were complaining more about was drive rush from an attack, which costs 3 bars. And it's because you can do like crouch medium kick into drive rush and just get in for free. Like it's no risk and you just get in there. But I think a lot of people had no idea about the countermeasures for this. An easy countermeasure for this is to spend your drive reversal and spend only 2 bars, knock them down, you're back to neutral. They spent 3 bars on the drive rush, you spent 2, so it's in your advantage if you just spend your drive reversal. Another answer that only 1 person did throughout the entire weekend, the last day when I ran into Chris G in ranked, he started doing EXDP every time I did like a crouch PM kick drive rush, which I thought was really good. It also takes 2 bars, so same thing as a drive reversal, but you also get some extra damage from it. So yeah, I don't think drive rush from an attack needs to be nerfed. If anything, they balanced it completely correctly because it's 3 bars and then drive reversal and an EX move to get off. Those are 2 bars, so it makes sense that you can just if you're ready, check them and be at advantage. So I think they balanced that pretty well in my opinion. I think drive rush from a parry, you know, maybe 1 bar is a bit cheap for that. I could see people getting a lot of combo extensions off of that, which did a lot more damage by only spending 1 bar. So maybe it's too cheap. Maybe it needs to be like 1.5 or 2. I think it's fine if they just leave it as is, and we'll see during the first season of the game if it ends up being too good. Then maybe in season 2 they can change it. But yeah, I definitely think it's okay to let rock for now. So then the 2 most underutilized mechanics of the drive system, drive reversal. Very few people used it, but it was very useful against certain things. Like against Juri's feng shui engine, a couple of people did this against me and it made it really annoying to get my pressure started. But drive reversal is really good. It basically beats everything, it seems like, except jabs. So it seems like jab, you can bait out a drive reversal, but if you press like a medium attack or a heavy attack, you just get hit by the drive reversal. Maybe if you do a drive rush into a medium, you could bait it out too. But I did not test that. But if you do bait it out, it is, I think, -7 or 8, so it is punishable, unlike a V reversal in Street Fighter V. All right, so coming to the most underutilized mechanic of the game, which I think is going to be very important as the game progresses, is drive parry. And I think the reason people weren't using it is just because it's kind of unnatural to start using at first, because it's not something we've been doing. But parry just seems really good after thinking about it for a while. Parry costs half a bar and then it'll continuously drain after that half a bar. But for things like fireballs, you basically need to parry, otherwise you're constantly getting chipped away. Unless you read it with a drive impact, fireballs are going to be very annoying for you. Unless you start parrying them, parrying isn't going to give you anything good if you do a normal parry, but at least you won't be losing your drive gauge. Same thing for like heavy attacks in neutral. You don't want to get chipped away at that, and if you want a safer option than just risking a drive impact and getting punished, you can just mash parry in neutral and hope that it parries the heavy attack, and it's a lot less risky, and you have the chance of getting a perfect parry, which will allow you a combo heavily scaled, but at least it'll allow you to get your pressure going. And it seems like no matter the attack, you'll always get a good punish on a perfect parry. But it's not only heavy attacks, even fireballs you can perfect parry. Right here it shows someone getting a perfect parry into super. So while drive impact is like the easy option that everyone's going to instantly know to use against like heavy attacks and fireballs to try and get the read, doing a parry is a lot safer. You get the chance of a perfect parry. If you just get the timing a little bit off, you'll still get your drive gauge back, and there's no risk of ever getting punished. So I think that's what people will start gravitating towards as the game progresses. People are going to start with drive impact, but parry is probably going to be the way to go at high levels in the future. And it's not just the chipping away at your drive gauge part of heavy buttons that is such a big deal. Some heavy buttons in this game are actually plus, like Ryu Solar Plexus is +1, I believe. Luke Forward Fierce is +1. Ken has like a heavy dragon kick thing where he hops forward. It looks like his heavy Tatsu in Street Fighter V. That's +1. Kimberly has a run up kick thing, also +1. And the reason they're able to make these moves so good, I think in their minds, the balance for this is drive impact or parry. So that's going to be kind of how the game's going to work. There's going to be these moves that you risk trying to do. Your opponent is going to try and guess that you're going to do them by either a drive impact or trying to get a perfect parry, trying to read your timing. And that's kind of how part of neutral is going to go. But at the same time, there's still a lot of traditional footsies, traditional neutral in terms of whiff punishes. Like, it's very easy if someone whiffs a button to whiff punish them, especially with a sweep. I don't think there was any button in the game that didn't feel like it was whiff punishable in a sweep. And then any whiff punish counts as a punish counter. Your opponent loses some drive gauge, you get a big fat combo. So definitely footsies and neutrals seem really strong in the game. Yeah, so overall I'll give the gameplay part of this, the drive system specifically, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think we're going to have to see how things go, how broken some of the stuff actually is. But for now, it seems like Capcom has done a really good job of balancing everything. Everything seems like it has an answer. Maybe the answers aren't as strong as they look, or maybe things aren't as risky as they should be. But for now, everything seems like it has an answer. It definitely seems like you're going to have to try and predict what your opponent is going to do and try and counter it. So I think that's just pretty cool and a new taste on neutral. And specifically these drive rush combos, man. I think the drive rush combos look so sick and allow for so much creativity, and it's just going to be so cool to see what people come up with, since it feels like it makes it a lot more free form in terms of what you can do. All right, the last thing I'll quickly touch on is each of the characters and how I felt like about them in this game. So I'll start out with Ryu. I honestly really like how Ryu is in this game. You can just play him really solid. You play him with a fireball. You use your crouch medium kick drive rush to get in there. I think the way that he plays in this game is he's very simple, and he has a little bit of flair. Like there's some parry into drive rush combos that Momochi was doing that were super sick, that are going to be like the more technical combos. So you can be a little bit more technical with him, but you can also just dump meter into him to do damage. So I think if you're looking for a character that's just like basic, simple, but does some damage, Ryu definitely is still that in this game. The next character I'll talk about, Luke. I think in a similar way to Ryu, he has some really cool charge combos with his flash knuckle in this game. He's a little bit underwhelming in some of the stuff he can do if you're coming from Street Fighter V. Like his suppressor doesn't throw bait, he doesn't have a back medium punch. But I think the things that I thought were the most cool about Luke were the fact that he feels like a hit confirm character. Like I feel like if you really liked Street Fighter V, you can kind of pick up Luke in this game, because you can hit confirm his stand medium punch target combo really easily. You can actually hit confirm crouch medium kick into a crouch fierce, I think it is. You can't cancel it. It's a target combo that just, like, you see it right there, but it leaves you +1 in their face. So I think him just having hit confirms off of crouch medium kick and stand medium punch is super reminiscent of Street Fighter V, since most characters in the game don't have crouch medium kick confirms, at least as of now. And Luke just seems like really solid, which I think is pretty cool. One thing right now though, I think why a lot of people were saying that he seems weak in the beta is that his crouch medium kick is a lot shorter than everyone else's. It feels like, at least like Ryu and Ken, I think Luke's is the shortest compared to those two, which doesn't feel like it should be the case, but it is. So maybe they can change that in the future, but for now, Luke just seems like a solid character, which is pretty cool. And you know, that makes sense for him as like the coach of the game. All right, Chun-Li was the character I was struggling the most with to understand, but she feels like the character that will lame you out. Like I think she's going to use her Kikokens to just keep you out, and then she has a DP move now, her Tensho kicks, that she'll just anti-air you with as you try to jump over those. She was also like the least played character in the beta, I think because like she's more technical with her combos, it felt like, because a lot of them involve the stance cancel. So if you want to be a little bit more technical and also just be patient and zone people out, I think Chun-Li is a great character for that. I think she might feel slightly different because I don't think she's the same footsies character as she was, at least in Street Fighter V. Like in Street Fighter V, you press crouch medium kick, you press stand fierce, but I don't think that's how she is in this game. I think she's more of a zoning character. I might be mistaken, but it felt like her normals weren't as oppressive as they were in previous games. It's more about her fireball. So it's a little bit refreshing, I think. The stance cancels, and it feels like a new playstyle. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she will play more like the footsies character she was. But for now, that's my initial impressions of her. All right, now let's talk about Ken a little bit. I think he's kind of in the same boat as Luke, where he feels like he has more confirms than the other characters in this game. He has a stand medium kick target combo. It goes medium kick, heavy kick. Maybe you'll see it in this clip, maybe not. But he can also confirm his medium punch still into the fierce target combo. So that target combo right there, you can confirm into heavy DP. You can go into step kick and go into any super. So I feel like Ken just feels super solid, and you can also play him a little bit crazy. I feel like you probably can't play Luke crazy, but you can play Ken a little bit crazy because he has his heavy dragon kick. I was talking about a little bit earlier. It just leaps forward across the screen. It's +1. It's a little bit risky because of drive impact, drive parry and whatnot, but it's a way to get in. And he also has like these Rekka kicks. I think people call them crazy kicks. You can do them for cool loops in the corner. I'm not sure how to do those combos, but I've seen people doing them. And yeah, for pressure, you might try to punish the first hit of the crazy kick, but he can do a second one, and I think it frame traps. So he seems solid with a little bit of craziness, which I think Ken players do enjoy in past games. All right, let's talk about Juri, who was pretty much my main character throughout the beta. She's the one I probably put the most time into and actually like seriously learned. She feels really natural to play in this game. Like, I think besides maybe Ryu, she was probably the easiest one to pick up, because it just feels so natural to do her crouch medium kick into drive rush as a whiff punish. It feels natural to go for stores. I think her feng shui engine is really good, being her 2-bar super. I didn't think it was that strong at first, but once you start combining it with drive rush, and the drive rush overhead being comboable, I think her feng shui engine becomes super scary, and people are definitely going to have to do drive reversals against it, but you definitely can bait out the drive reversals if you start doing jabs. So I think feng shui engine is going to be super scary once people start optimizing it, and Juri just feels really good. I think a reason why she's a lot better, or feels a lot better than her Street Fighter V self, is not the fact that you can do her specials without the charge, because the non-powered up specials honestly are terrible and I would probably never use them, but it's the fact that you start the round with full EX meter and you can do your first stand heavy punch confirm into a medium EX store and do crouch medium kick into a store and get your store like that. So you basically have access to stores at round start because of EX meter. So yeah, I really liked how Juri plays. I think she feels really good, at least in the beta, so I might continue playing her. And she feels like a really solid character with a little bit of extra stuff with the feng shui engine. All right, so the last 3 characters, Jamie, Guile, and Kimberly. Let's talk about Jamie first. So Jamie, my Jamie was pretty bad throughout the beta. I didn't put enough time into him to really learn how to get his drinks. But the way it seems like is you're going to just play the whole round really looking for your drinks, unless you have your level 2 and you get all 4 of your drinks immediately. But it looks like you're just going to find like a Rekka hit into a drink, take another drink, do like an overhead target combo into a drink, and try and get all 4 drinks. And then in level 4 you do a crazy amount of damage. If you do EX command grab, you get crouch fierce into double palm into CA if you have it. So Jamie seems like a super fun character. Once the game comes out, I'll definitely learn him some more, but during the beta I was more interested in getting a feel of all the characters rather than exploring them fully. But it seems like you just try and get all the drinks, and then you go crazy with all of your tools that you have, because when he's at level 4 he definitely feels like the best character in the game and does way too much damage. So Kimberly was probably the character I was most scared of learning, because she seemed like pretty challenging, but she honestly wasn't too difficult. I think the main things about her that are going to be hard to deal with when you're playing against her forward heavy kick, that's the leap kick that she does. She can go into like a forward jump or a neutral jump or a back jump. She has her teleports. The air teleport is her EX teleport, so you spend 2 bars and it's super fast, but the trade-off is that it is an EX move, and I guess you can spend a drive reversal if you want to get her off of you. Then she has her run move. The move that she does, run slide. She can also do run into light kick, which ends up being like a little up kick move that's +1. She can do an overhead, or she can just do nothing and keep running at you, and once she's in the air she can either go back, she can do a dive kick, or she can do a grab. She's definitely going to be the kind of character that you have to lab against to understand your options against all of those different things that she can do, so you can punish at least one of them. But Kimberly felt really fast, really fun. Stand medium kick is an awesome poke with her to try and get your initial drive rush hit. and then you can kind of get your mix going with all the run shenanigans, and if you can possibly get a bomb down, and then her air EX grab, you get a sick combo off of. So I think she just seems really cool. Also, her CA has an effect that I feel like hasn't been done in a Street Fighter game before, at least not one that I know of, like Street Fighter 4 or Street Fighter 5. But if you do CA in any of the rounds for the rest of the game, she has an added bonus on her speed and damage. I think it's 10% damage. I'm not sure about the speed, but I think that's crazy to think about. If you make your strategy to try and get your CA the first round, then the rest of the 2 rounds potentially you have access to 10% extra damage. So that's a pretty cool idea that they had for her. All right, and then we have Guile. If you've played Guile in a past Street Fighter game, I think you'll feel very at home with him. He has Sonic Boom. He has his V skill 1 from Street Fighter 5. You know, obviously he has flash kicks. He has a crouch medium punch target combo that makes it easy to do like combos off of like a drive impact. You just do crouch medium punch into flash kick, or into the air super into EX flash kick. So you see it right there, crouch medium punch, air flash kick. You get to set up your Sonic Blade, and I think Guile is potentially the scariest character to think about in Street Fighter 6, because I was initially talking about how projectiles chip away at your drive gauge, right? And the problem with trying to parry a Sonic Boom as he's following behind it, and I think this will be a pretty similar problem to deal with Chun-Li too, with her Kikoken, and also probably Juri with her Light Store. The problem is that if they do a parry drive rush behind it, I think they should be able to grab you in some situations, and I think they should be able to like follow behind and anti-air you if you neutral jump. I saw someone do a punish where a Guile did a Sonic Boom. They saw their opponent neutral jump. They did a parry drive rush into crouch fierce. Being able to follow behind a projectile behind this game is very scary, and I think people were initially worried that Guile would not be very strong because of the way that parry seems to like nullify fireballs. I think that's not going to be the case at all. I think the strongest projectiles are going to be the ones that you can follow behind, because that means you can't neutral jump in this game if your opponent has drive gauge bar, and you can't really parry against it very safely, at least. On top of that, Guile has amazing buttons. His crouch medium kick goes so far, like I would keep trying to walk back out of it and continuously get hit. I think the trade-off is obviously that you can drive impact it, so it's one of those moves that is really good, but like it's susceptible to getting parried and drive impacted. But overall, if you like Guile, I think he's very similar to his past selves. I think he has some cool combos too in the corner with his perfect Sonic Booms, and his Super 2 where he gets the little booms and you can change them together. He definitely gets a couple of loops, so he definitely has a little bit of cool stuff, and I think he's going to be one of the characters that's going to be able to abuse the drive system the best and be the most unique with it, due to being able to follow behind his boom. Anyways, that's going to be it for the video. It was kind of a bit of a longer one, probably because I wanted to give all of my thoughts on the Street Fighter 6 beta. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I normally read all of my comments, so if you have a question, I'll try and answer it about Street Fighter 6, about the closed beta. Leave a subscribe down below, hit the red button. 70% of you are not subscribed. Leave a like on the video, and I will see you in the next one. I'm going to have a lot of Street Fighter 6 content coming up the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one.